I like this image for two reasons. One, as the chimpanzees, but truth be told, we never evolved from chimpanzees. Chimpanzees and we had a common ancestor, so we never evolved from chimpanzees. The reason I like this picture is that as you evolve into becoming human beings, you lose your body hair. So when someone asks me, what's wrong with your receding hairline, I can tell them that I'm more evolved than you. The second reason, and I think this is the most important reason, that I like this picture is because it shows the history of human progress. This picture in itself is what progress is. I mean, as human beings were the ones who would crawl on their feet, suddenly in the savannas, we had to become upright because we had to negotiate the savannas just to check the lurking dangers. We had to also climb trees, and that's the reason why we started standing upright. Our fingers were built as the first part of the evolutionary process. Now, what that did to us is that as we became erect and bipedal, the pelvic bone started becoming smaller. And when the pelvic bone started becoming smaller, the human being started to deliver premature babies. Now, if you look at any of the animal kingdom, human babies are the only premature babies with a soft head, the ones that will crawl for several years before they are able to stand up, right? And it is because the women started delivering these premature babies, they wanted people to protect them. And because they wanted people to protect that, the societies were built, the human relationships were built. And that is how the social structures came along. That is how the families came along. That is how the countries, nations, societies built upon. You know, most of the occasions we fail to understand and realize that progress of that human being is being able to stand on your feet. Have you ever thought to yourself that what kind of human ingenuity it required for us to stand on our feet for the first place? You know, we do clap at our children when they stand for the first time in their lives, but have you ever acknowledged this progress? No, isn't it? We never acknowledged this project of being, this progress of being able to stand in our feet, have we? Just look at a robot trying to walk. How she would do without any grace, not like any kind of a model. You know, just look at a mannequin standing up. Would a mannequin be able to move forward? No, isn't it? So why don't we acknowledge this progress? But if you look at the history of humankind, we have made certain strides. Of course, there are things that need to be done, like Amoda recently mentioned about gender gap and gender parity. But truth be told, I mean, a woman today who is diagnosed with a breast cancer has more likelihood of surviving than a woman who would be pregnant in the 1950s. Isn't it? We've made that progress, right? In the 40s and the 50s, and even before that, war would be the national pastime for many people. And the peace would be the period of silence between these wars. It is still a national pastime in the video games in our countries. That's true. But we have never seen lives being lost out of wars the way we used to see in the past, have we? But why do we fail to acknowledge this progress? The poorest person in the world today can own a mobile phone, which the richest aristocrat in the earlier days would not be able to afford or achieve or even acquire. That is progress, isn't it? And if you ask for myself, having born in 1980, my likelihood of seeing my 5th birthday would only be 22%. 1 out of 5 chance. But a child who is born today has much, much higher chance of survival. You know, we've done well in so many things. But what is the reason? What is the reason we fail to acknowledge this progress? The first reason is that we human beings, we have something of a negativity bias. And this also comes along the human evolution. You know, as hunters and gatherers, we were always designed to react to certain situations. We were never designed to think and be happy, do poetry, art, love, and music. No, we're never designed to do that. But if the dangers came along, we had to react. And therefore, we started registering negative emotions much quickly, much faster than the positive emotions. Because if we had to engage ourselves in positive emotions like happiness, we are more likely to be killed by a lion or a tiger or a rival tribe. So we've always been designed to see a cockroach in a ball of cherries, but never have we been designed to see a cherry in a ball of cockroaches. We need to acknowledge this progress. We need to see positives. The second thing is called the availability bias. You know, during the 2015 earthquake, most of the media, they reported that the buildings going down, the houses going down, the suffering all around. And just imagine anyone who is living outside, they would only see the buildings being broken down, isn't it? They would never see the buildings that are standing tall and the lives that have still been alive. And because of that, we make our judgments of negativity. We make the judgments because we tend to evaluate the risks based on whatever we see. A plane that can have an engine malfunction in US when it is flying, but safely lands, has more chance of making it to the news than a bus that plunges down the Trishuli River killing 50 people, right? And that's the reason why people fear flying than driving on a car, where the likelihood of one dying on a plane crash is 20 times less than the likelihood of you going to the airport in a car. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get out of this availability biases, the negative biases, to be able to acknowledge the progress. Whatever we're doing right now is the progress that we've seen. So the world has actually progressed in several years into our lifetime, that we are living better, we are less likely to be killed by war, we have a better health, we have better longevity of our lives, and we have a better socioeconomic guarantee for our future. But this progress has few enemies. The first enemy this progress has is that we human beings fantasize and romanticize the past. We see that the past was better than today. We see that we were better off yesterday than we are today, but the fact is that today is the day we are best. We still can become better tomorrow, but as we live, today is the best. And if you look at the countries around the world, most of the leaders do not have that vision of the future into how the world is going to evolve. When that happens, most of the leaders find it safe to have a vision towards the past. So if someone wants to make America great again, they think that America was great in 1950, but that's not true. America, and for that matter, the rest of the world is great today. Right? So we need to move on from that notion of living in the nostalgia of the past. It's important that we live with the hope and optimism for the future rather than the nostalgia of the past. That's one thing. The second thing that it does is it brings about the populist movement in the world. Populist movements where you talk about my nation, my country, and that movement is actually leading to the fear of progress. Yeah? But the third biggest thing, and this is where we all come in, is that tribalism is the other very, very important element that is being an impediment to this progress. Now, when I talk about tribalism, what is it? What is tribalism? Is that we always had been a part of this tribe. And the way we've lived our life through the beginning is that the common denominator for our selection has been the tribe that we live in. And this tribe could be your family, your society, your country, your language, your ethnicity, your gender, your origin, or whatever it is. Now, what that does is this tribalism leads to us thinking that my tribe is better than yours, or my tribe is superior than yours. When I talk about my tribe being superior to yours, then that leads to the populist movements. If you talk about Nazism, the fascism, and Stalinism of the past that led to the war, it's because of the tribalism where we believed that my tribe is superior to yours, and therefore I need to protect my tribe. Right? But here's the caveat. If we want to continue with this progress, we need to come up with the liberal values. As youngsters, you need to come up with the liberal values. And when I talk about liberal values, I talk about the fact that we do not call ourselves that my race, my gender, my tribe, my ethnicity, my color, my language is better than yours. We tell that my language is unique, but so is yours. My gender is unique, so is yours. My ethnicity is unique, and so is yours. So when we have these liberal values, we can sustain this progress further. The second thing that is very important for all of us is that liberal values lead to interdependent world. We as the citizens and as youngsters, we are going to live in a world that is going to be more interdependent and connected. The things that you do here is also going to affect the things that are going to happen in other countries. For example, the climate change of Nepal is going to affect everyone else, isn't it? The climate change that's going to happen is also going to affect India, it's going to affect Pakistan, Bangladesh, any other country. And things that are happening in Silicon Valley is also going to affect every one of us, right? So we are going to live in a world that's more interdependent to one another. And when we live in this world that is more interdependent, interconnected, you need to appreciate the diversity, the difference that we have with other people and acknowledge that difference. You know? And this is going to be the sign of progress. The other important thing is that if you look at the history, you know, I'm pretty much fascinated by a pencil. Have you ever realized what it took to come up with a pencil? It has a graphite, it has some timber, it has a rubber. You know, the timber would have been chopped off somewhere in Latin America. The rubber would have come up from Malay or Malaysia of today. That was cut with a saw that was made out of steel in a factory in US. And hundreds of thousands of people voluntarily cooperating to create a pencil for their own progress, for their own benefits, isn't it? What we need to have is the voluntary cooperation between individuals. And if you look at this picture once again, when we evolved from the four-legged animal to the ones we are today, we build up societies because we voluntarily cooperated with one another. We built up things, we built up mosques, we built up temples, we built up infrastructure because we voluntarily cooperated with one another. We built up cities, nations, because we voluntarily cooperated with one another. No one told Albert Einstein to come up with a theory of relativity, isn't it? Nor did the government did. It was an effort of so many people coming together that creates the human ingenuity to what we have today, which is a sign of progress. And if you look at today, this event in itself is a result of this voluntary cooperation between hundreds of individuals who want to create a new Nepal, a Nepal where people can learn and grow and do things differently. So a lot of human progress that has happened in the past, from becoming the four-legged animal to the one that we are today, is based on this voluntary cooperation that is enabled with liberal values, where we've always believed in knowledge, in reasoning, in science, and in progress. But one must need to understand that we still need a lot of things to do to take this progress ahead. It can only be done when we collaborate and cooperate with the 21st century emancipative values, where we believe that life is better than death, health is better than sickness, and knowledge is better than ignorance. Thank you very much.